Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Joshana. And today I'm excited because you may notice the lighting is not terrible. And it's not natural lighting, which is probably obvious. But normally if I film when the sun has gone down or if it's overcast, I would just have my lights on. And it was like yellow and just piss poor quality. And I don't know why I didn't think of this before, but Jess and Christina over at Game of Tomes were talking about having lighting issues and how they got daylight bulbs. And I was like, oh my God, I'm an idiot. Why don't I do that? Because normally I do bulk film on Saturday mornings. And in Phoenix, Arizona, it's typically sunny almost every day. There are some days though where it's not, and then there's some times where I have to film videos after work during the week, and I just hate when it was like that crap lighting. Like, ugh, I like want to go delete all those videos because it just annoys the absolute hell out of me. But I went and purchased some daylight bulbs today, so I think it's a lot better. So thank you very much to those lovely ladies. So I actually already filmed this video, kind of, but I just kind of wanted to redo it. So I have my top rated books of the year and then my lowest rated books of the year. Now, this may change. I am in the middle of reading Daughter of Smoke and Bone right now, and I'm really liking it. I'm about 3/4 of the way through. It might end up being on the highest, one of the highest rated of the year. We'll see though how it all ends and everything, but so far I'm liking it. I mean, I think it's gonna be 4 stars at least, but this list is my 5-star reads and then my 2-star reads. I didn't actually have anything below a 2-star. It was either I DNF'd or 2 stars. Like there wasn't a 1-star situation. And I kind of wanted to change it up, change this video a little bit and refilm it because I wanted to talk about the ones that were like most disappointing on the lower end of the spectrum. There were a couple books this year that I think surprised me a little bit, so I'll talk about those too, but let's get into my highest rated, my 5-star reads so far for the year. And this isn't in a particular order. So we have The Aeronaut's Windlass. I've been talking about this book since I read it. I just thought it was super fun by Jim Butcher. And that's like a steampunk kind of, I don't even know what to call it, future, like dystopian kind of. Like, and there's talking cats and like air pirates, like sky pirates, and it was just super fun. I really liked the dialogue. I loved the characters, and Raoul is like one of my all-time favorite characters. So I definitely love The Aeronaut's Windlass. I would say this one kind of surprised me. I'd never read any Jim Butcher before, and like the sci-fi dystopian steampunk thing, I was kind of like, oh, I'll check it out. Why not? And then I loved it. So. And then another 5-star was The Little Prince. Not much to say there. It's super short. Apparently a classic children's book. I had no idea until I saw the Netflix movie, and then I read the book and I just loved it. It was so cute and touching and like thought-provoking. This one was very surprising for me this year because it is YA contemporary. I'll Give You the Sun. 5 stars on that. Loved it, loved it, loved it. I discovered a new author that I love in Jandy Nelson. It's very difficult for me to really fall in love with a YA contemporary, and this one just hit the mark for me. Then we have graphic novel Monstrous, 5 for that as well. I'm saying stars in this, not pushinicorns, because I just went off on my stars thing, so sorry guys. But Monstrous, I read volume 1 and 2 I think I read it for Booktubeathon, and I loved it. The artwork is amazing. Again, we have talking cats. I mean, do you see a theme here? And then we have my precious World of Ice and Fire, The Untold History of Westeros and the Game of Thrones. I just love that book. And I Darken. And this one was kind of surprising for me. I'd heard about it. I hadn't heard that much about it though. Like, I'd heard people like talk about it, but I was just kind of like, oh, I'll check this one out. I just love the characters. I love the sibling bond and sibling relationship that is explored. And Lotta is just a ruthless, ruthless person, and I love her. And then we have some adult fiction or literary fiction, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, but Nutshell by Ian McEwan. I love Ian McEwan. It's another author that I think people either like really respond to or just like, ugh, no. I really respond to his writing. Atonement was one of my favorite books of all time. And then I read Saturday, and I really liked that. And then I got Nutshell from the library, and oh my God, I loved it. It's a baby in the womb that can hear like what's going on outside and is like very conscious and like aware of everything. And the baby's voice, like their narrative voice, they're like an adult, like a cultured, educated, very wise adult. And so like hearing this like literal fetus like talking like this and like having these thoughts, it was just so weird but like so cool and like funny. I don't know, I really liked it. And then we have The Final Empire, which is the first book in the Mistborn series. That book really got me in the feels, mostly towards the end. I'm not gonna lie, there are parts of it and of the second book, which, what is it called? The Well of Ascension. The action scenes, like the heavy action scenes, they're done really well, I guess, but like heavy action scenes like that, I tend to skim a little bit. I'm kind of like, okay, they're fighting, okay. But towards the end, it really got me. And then the last 5-star read I have read was Dear Martin, and I mean, I've talked about this a lot. I loved it. It's a YA contemporary, but it deals with a very serious issue. Lots of very serious issues. That's the kind of YA contemporary I think that I like. I just don't get into like just your frilly funsies coming of age that often, like those kind of, or like romances. I kind of tend to not get that invested in those. They have to pack like a really emotional punch for me to get very invested, and I was in this one. So that's 9 5-star reads, and then for the whole year, and I did have quite a few 4.5. I mean, Harry Potter, I just read, Now I Rise, various books. I had honestly quite a few 4.5, and even so, like 3.5, 3.75. Like I had a pretty good reading year. Now for the less positive end of the spectrum, and these first few definitely were, I guess, disappointing to me because they were super hyped, and everybody still like loves them, and I just didn't. The first one, and again, these aren't in like any kind of particular order, they just were all the 2-star reads. First one is Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. This was super hyped, as you know if you've been on BookTube this year. And yeah, I couldn't get past it. And I loved Felicity, right, is the sister's name. And I loved Percy, the best friend's name. But the main character, Monty, he just absolutely killed it for me. And I hear a lot of people kind of say that, but then they're like, but it was fun and it's diverse and there's a lot of representation. And there is, and the diversity and the representation was great. Like, that's super awesome. But then it seems like most people that rave about this book turn around and say that the plot was like awful and like a hot mess. And I'm kind of like, how can you rate a book 5 stars or even like 4.5 stars if you thought the plot was just an absolute, like, garbage fire, you know? Like, I don't know. I guess for some people, the redeeming quality of having the representation and the diversity, like redeemed it for them, the plot. But, like, for me, the plot and Monty, there was nothing that could redeem that. Mostly Monty, honestly. Like, ugh, no. And I get that people love it, and that's fine. Like, whatever. For me, it couldn't be saved. And then another one, which this book is a few years old, I think, but it was hyped even before I got on BookTube. So I read it, and that was Everything, and that freaking ending. Someone made the point, they're like, this isn't a book about whatever, it's a book about child abuse. And I was like, yes! I couldn't. This next one, I know this book has its merits. I know it has a lot of merit, the writing and everything. I'm not saying that I think it was a poorly written book in any way, shape, or form, but I just could not. The 5th season, like, by N.K. Jemisin, I'm not continuing that series. I do not care. I just felt the second person point of view, I've talked about this and freaking probably preached about this, but the second person point of view, I could not get past. The tone of the book, like, felt very pretentious and smug to me. Like, I'm not a dummy. I'm a pretty intelligent person most of the time, I'd like to think. I went to school for a writing degree and took a buttload of English literature classes and British literature classes and Shakespeare and all this. I can like read and critique literature, you know, in an intelligent, high-minded way if need be, right? But I just felt like it wasn't, I just felt like it was, like I said, smug and pretentious, like, look how smart I am. Like the book. I'm not saying anything about N.K. Jemisin. I don't know her. She's probably a lovely person. But that's just how this book came across to me. That's how it read to me. Was just really like self-important. I think that second person point of view I couldn't get past it. Another one, Down Among the Sticks and Bones. I mean, you know how I feel about that because I kind of ranted about it. Just shoot me right in the face. To me, when I was reading this book, I'm like, literally every other page, they're reminding me like, oh hey, these girls aren't like each other. She's supposed to be like a boy, but she doesn't want to be. She's supposed to be like a girl, but she doesn't want to be. Let's let them be how they want. Like, it was like telling you this every other page. And it just so over the top to me. It's another one that I feel like I must have just missed it because everybody loves this book. The next one was Little Women. That was kind of surprising, just because I loved the movie as a kid, the old movie, but tedious, couldn't do it. I mean, I read it, but I did not care. And then Armada, I wasn't necessarily having super high expectations for that just because I knew it was like about video games and stuff, and that's just not typically my thing. Then a more recent one that I read that was a real disappointment was Pride and Prejudice and Mistletoe. I was like all jazzed. I'm like, Pride and Prejudice, gender bender. Like, it was, instead of Mr. Darcy, the main character, and the main character was the Mr. Darcy, but her name was just Darcy, and it was a girl, and like, cool, contemporary, like, whatever, this will be fun. It was not. It was not at all. It was a whole book of adults acting like 14-year-olds and rich, like, preppy kids acting like they come from the sticks. And I'm like, no, you don't. You just ordered an Uber. That's 8 books on the 2-star end, and then there were quite a few that I DNF'd. I tend to do that. Either I read a book and I'm like, okay, I'll try it, and then I end up being like, ugh, 2 stars. Or I start reading it and I feel like I can feel that it's going to be like a 1-star, and I just DNF. I just give up. So, which is kind of good that I didn't waste a lot of time. All in all, like I said, I did have a pretty good reading year, I feel like. I mean, I read way more books than I have in the past few years. Joining BookTube definitely like gave me that motivation. And like I said, while I didn't have like a crap ton on the 5-star list, I did have a lot on the 4, like the 3.5 to 4.5 range. So it was a pretty good reading year, I would say. Let me know down below if you guys had a pretty good reading year as well, if you had more on your love list than on your hate or dislike list. Hopefully you did. And like and subscribe if you haven't already, if you feel so inclined. I would love to have you. And that is all for now. I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.